Tonight, a News 9 exclusive. For the first time, we're hearing from the former administrator of the Youth Development Center Victim Fund, who says justice may never be served.
That fund was created to give victims of alleged abuse at state-run facilities some form of justice, but he says the state seems to be failing them yet again.
Now the person who's going to give you justice is the person who raped you? I mean, I just don't even understand why this isn't an outrage for the entire state of New Hampshire.
John Broderick has heard the horror stories that have been kept quiet for so long.
These are people we abused when they were children. I don't know about you, but it's a moral outrage in my mind.
As the former administrator of the Youth Development Center Settlement Fund, Broderick was tapped to listen to the thousands of people who say that they were abused as children in state care and decide whether and how much money that they should be awarded. But after he says that he was forced out of his position, he tells us that he doesn't believe these victims will ever get justice.
And they're going to paper it over, look like everything's fine. If the people of New Hampshire want to accept that, they can. But I'm just saying, as someone who's been in the justice business for a long, long time, this is so wrong.
The settlement fund was established in 2022 as a way for the state to provide hundreds of millions of dollars in compensation to these victims for the alleged abuse that spanned 5 decades, while avoiding the lengthy, costly, and emotional process that would come with bringing all of these cases to trial. Broderick, who is the former Chief Justice of the New Hampshire Supreme Court, says that his team resolved about 380 of the 2,000 claims filed. Critics have argued that it's not possible that all of these people are telling the truth.
Of all the cases that you heard, were there any that you thought were potentially lying or were potentially just in it to get money here?
Maybe one.
So you believe, of just one of all of them, you believe that these people are telling the truth?
Ask the Attorney General how many people are prosecuted. They see what I see. They read what I read.
Earlier this spring, the governor and the legislature turned Broderick's position into a political appointee rather than an independent one. Broderick says the state will now have the final say in these agreements.
The person who did the raping is going to tell you what you can get. You think that's fair? At least when they had a hearing, they knew that they would get an award, or they wouldn't, but they knew a neutral party would decide it. And it was over. Most of them accepted it. Now they're going to come into a system that they know is rigged.
He says that he believes that the state wants the fund gone.
So are you suggesting the governor is not acting in good faith here and is trying to push this essentially down the road?
How in the world can you set up a fund to compensate people who've been abused over a half a century, invite all these people to come in, entice them to come in, and then with no courtesy of talking to the person who's been running the fund, put zero in your budget?
Broderick says that he knows that this is an expensive process, but he believes that these people simply cannot be failed again.
I think the world of the state and the people here, I know they're better than that. I know they're better than that. And if I'm right, they'll start saying something, reaching out, speaking up. When you abuse kids for a half century, it costs money. And the state should be doing the right thing. They were until recently.
Now, we reached out to the governor for a response to Justice Broderick's accusations. Her team referred us back to the Attorney General for comment. He said, quote, "The changes made to the YDC settlement fund by this legislature rightfully bring this process in line with the way the justice system best operates. This is the most transparent, qualified, and neutral way of ensuring justice for victims and the sustainability of the fund in the long term while prioritizing victims over the trial lawyers who to date have profited more than those who have suffered." If you'd like to watch the full interview with Justice Broderick, you can find it on our website, WMUR.com.